You know, the one thing that I was incredibly happy with when this thing was all over was the fact that I looked at the time and it was 10:30 when this show was over. Can't get any better than that, man. Now, normally when I watch a 3-hour show, it's on Monday and I want to fucking hang myself. But with this pay-per-view tonight, after coming out of the Royal Rumble and having to sit there for 7 hours, being given a 3.5-hour Elimination Chamber pay-per-view was just what the doctor ordered. I thought that was great. I actually got on my hands and knees and prayed to God. You really do care about me tonight. Thank fucking God. Thank God I could get some sleep. Anyway, man, that was one of the very, very, very few positives in tonight's Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, 2019 version, in the record books. This fucking stopgap, this rest stop on the road to WrestleMania. The other thing that I really enjoyed tonight, and you know, if you've come here looking for positive reviews, this is not the place for you. Now, if you come here looking for someone who's going to give you logic and a bunch of truth behind it, and someone who's going to bring out all the negative in this product and show you why this product is fucking miserable right now in 2019, then you've come to the right place. But the time that the show ended was great. And the other positive about this show, the fact that WWE seems to be putting the pieces in place for what I hope is a very, very good WrestleMania. Now, what do I mean by that? Daniel Bryan won the main event. Yes, the WWE Championship was in the main event tonight, believe it or not. He retains the WWE Championship. That's a positive. Daniel Bryan's probably the best thing on WWE TV right now outside of Becky Lynch. We had the Usos win the Smackdown Live Tag Team Championships, believe it or not. Even after the week that Jimmy Uso and Naomi had, they still won the Tag Team Championships, and nobody's going to convince me otherwise that AEW is not a factor in that decision as well. So they won the Tag Team Championships on SmackDown Live. We had Finn Balor beating Bobby Trashley for the Intercontinental Championship, something that I really do enjoy, but on the same side of the fence, something that I find an issue with for a couple of reasons. We'll go over that, but needless to say, Finn Balor is your new Intercontinental Champion. I think that's a great move going into WrestleMania. And then Sasha Banks and Bayley winning the Women's Tag Team Championships. The absolute right decision. You were going to have no one else walk into WrestleMania as your tag team champions other than Sasha Banks and Bayley. I don't give a fuck. You're not going to crown first new, I was going to say first time ever. It's not the first time ever. You're not going to have new tag team champions in this new era and have them not be Sasha Banks and Bayley. So WWE looks to be putting the right players in place, the right players on the field, and the right championships on these people. And hopefully it makes for a better WrestleMania. Now, outside of all that, that might be a little bit too positive for even me. Outside of that, this show was a complete waste of fucking time. So there's your positive for the entire review. Now let's get into the good stuff. We'll go over everything tonight that happened on the Elimination Chamber, good and bad. And hopefully you guys hit the thumbs up on the way out the door, man. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206 on Twitter. I was live tweeting with everybody. I was being attacked by fucking Iconics fans and these fucking super fans of Billy Kay and Peyton Royce. I was attacked by Becky Lynch fans out of nowhere. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm pro Becky Lynch, motherfucker. Give me a break. Give me a break. I am nothing but a fucking personality in the YouTube community, man. If you don't like what I say, then don't watch or don't tweet. You don't need to get upset at me. Really. You know? All because I'm speaking truth, that doesn't mean I'm wrong. All these Iconic fans coming at me, man, on Twitter tonight. At JD from NY206. Same thing on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram, man. I'm on both very much. So please go and find me. JD from New York on Twitch. And hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications. We are on our way to 107,000 subscribers. If you guys want to support on Patreon, patreon.com/JD from NY206. If you guys missed any of the uploads that yes, in Grimm's Toy Show, man, his ugly mug there. We did a video on Grimm's Toy Show, yes. Whether you like him or hate him, I did a video on him, and it's entertaining, so go check it out. Video game content off the script was live on Friday and Saturday. Go and check that out if you missed. Batista in talks with Chris Jericho about AEW. Batista possibly meeting with the WWE for WrestleMania. My Elimination Chamber predictions about Kofi Kingston. Undertaker at StarCast. We also have the off-the-script extra I did on AEW and their 2019 schedule leaked. TV deal in place. I know what it is. Plans for a sequel to All In. Called All Out in Chicago 2019. If you guys missed any of that stuff, live on the channel right now. Make sure you guys go and check it out. And I got a new shirt out. We sold 91 in total so far, man. We need 9 more to hit that elusive number of 100. JD's merchandise, off the script merchandise, officially on bonfire.com. Make sure you guys go check the link in the description for your very own t-shirt, man. JD's Elite t-shirt now available on bonfire.com. Let's get those 9 before we hit Monday Night Raw on Monday. I would love if we hit that 100 before we get to Monday Night Raw. Shout out to @MikeWill87 and SalRex, both on Twitter for their artwork. Mike with the layout and SalRex with the thumbnail, as always, for this Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Elimination Chamber started off with the pre-show, man. We had Akira Tozawa versus Buddy Murphy for the Cruiserweight Championship. I don't know what it is with WWE and giving the 205 Live guys the shaft. I don't know why they do this. I really hope for a better 205 Live going on into 2019. These guys are so good at what they do, and they constantly get fed to the pre-show. Now, I don't know if you guys are aware of this. I know I've talked about this several times. If you are working a late-night shift, and you're just getting home at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and you miss the Chamber, and you want to sit down and watch the Chamber, and you go to the Chamber on the WWE Network, you're not going to see this match because it wasn't a part of the actual main show. This was on the pre-show. And no matter how many times Road Dogg wants to tell you that the pre-show is part of the main show, it's not. It's not. They wrestle in front of empty seats, and it's not a part of the actual show because it's not on the program when you go watch the Elimination Chamber on the network. So you might not even know, A, the Cruiserweight Championship is being defended, and B, you probably missed one of the best matches of the entire night in Buddy Murphy and Akira Tozawa. I think Buddy Murphy has done an excellent job as Cruiserweight Champion. I think Buddy Murphy and everybody on 205 Live have done an exceptional job at really opening eyes to everybody about the brand and bringing brand awareness. Like, every time these guys go out there on the pre-show, they're killing it. They have nothing but great things being said about them. Buddy Murphy is a hidden gem on 205 Live. The guy should be honestly competing with Mustafa Ali on SmackDown Live, or he should be in the ring with a Seth Rollins or a Finn Balor on Monday Night Raw. Buddy Murphy should be competing for the Intercontinental Championship against Finn Balor. That's how good the guy is. The guy may be one of the best wrestlers on the entire roster. And he's got a great comeback story because he was in NXT, he was hurt, he wanted to be on 205 Live. They didn't really see him at that level, and he lobbied for Triple H to put him on 205 Live, and here he is, probably one of the best things in the entire company right now. And I don't understand why they constantly get the pre-show treatment. Oh, 205 Live is just another hour of television. Another hour of television for the network. There really is no plans to build up 205 Live from where it is right now. But what I hope is the case, you don't need to build it up, but I hope that you nurture and care for the talent that's on the show. I hope that people do follow in the footsteps of Mustafa Ali. Buddy Murphy should be the next one in line. Cedric Alexander should be following right behind those two guys. Those guys need to be on the main roster. There's no reason at all why Buddy Murphy should be on 205 Live for the remainder of 2019. After he drops that title, he needs to be on Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live. Absolutely no excuses. No excuses. And I remember when the draft took place in 2016 on Monday Night Raw, and Stephanie McMahon, right, bragged about the Cruiserweights coming to Monday Night Raw. Why don't we go back to that? Monday Night Raw is in shambles right now. You don't think this show, especially with the revitalization of 205 Live the way it is right now, you don't think putting guys like that on Monday Night Raw would make the watching experience on Monday night a little bit better? I would love to see a Buddy Murphy or a Humberto Carrillo on Monday Night Raw. Tony Nese, Cedric Alexander, TJP. Give these guys exactly what you gave Buddy Murphy and Akira Tozawa tonight on Monday Night Raw. And I think the show would be that much better off for it. Just a little bit. But man, am I a big fan of Buddy Murphy. This was a great match. This was a really, really fun match. Akira Tozawa did not get the job done. Buddy Murphy retains the Cruiserweight Championship. There was a couple spots in this match that were really, really fun. Akira Tozawa did a suicide dive to the outside. Buddy Murphy was already on the outside. Suicide dive. He runs through the middle rope, dives through the middle rope. Buddy Murphy catches him mid-dive into a vertical suplex to the outside. Beautiful fucking spot. Beautiful spot. And it goes to show you how great these guys are and how great Buddy Murphy is. There was another spot in this match where Buddy Murphy was sitting on the top turnbuckle. And Akira Tozawa was trying to knock him off. He big boots Buddy Murphy right in the face. Climbs up top, jockeying for position. Buddy Murphy is trying to lift up Akira Tozawa and toss him back into the ring. He's in this like Superman-like pose. And Buddy Murphy lifts Akira Tozawa up. He turns that and counters that into a avalanche Frankensteiner off the top rope for a near fall. Then towards the end of this match, Tozawa gets hit with a fucking devastating jumping knee, man. You talk about a Kenny Omega ripcord knee. Omega's knees are devastating. Rollins has got knees that don't even level up to being compared to Buddy Murphy. Buddy Murphy's got the best knee in WWE. That jumping knee, I'm still hearing it after he hit Akira Tozawa with it. Jumping knee. Akira Tozawa tried to fight out of this situation towards the end of this match. He gets Buddy Murphy into an octopus stretch or an octopus hold. Now, he tried to lock the wrists, and he tried to lock in Buddy Murphy's face, but no good. Buddy Murphy and Buddy Murphy's conditioning, his strength, he stood back up with Akira Tozawa on him with the hold half applied, turned it into the Murphy's Law, and he retains the Cruiserweight Championship. Great fucking match. Buddy Murphy is a hidden gem in WWE, man. He retains the title. After the match was over, celebrates in the ring. They bring out Mark Henry, who is a Texas native. And Charlie Caruso's interviewing him. And she asks who he thinks is going to win the men's and the women's Elimination Chamber match. And before he even said anything about her question, he's like, why don't you guys give it up for that great Cruiserweight Championship match we just seen? I love that. I love that. Going completely off and saying whatever the fuck you're feeling in that moment, and he gave praise to the Cruiserweights, which WWE hardly does on their own. So good on Mark Henry. Shout out to Mark Henry for really acknowledging the great match that was the Cruiserweights, because I don't think they get even a tenth of that from WWE. The Elimination Chamber started off with the Women's Elimination Chamber match for the Women's Tag Team Championships. I thought this was going to be the main event of the show. Looking back at it, I'm glad I'm not sitting here telling you that this was the main event. I'm glad it wasn't the main event at all. This was great to sandwich the show in between the chamber matches. One in the middle, one in the beginning, and one in the end. Women's Tag Team Championship match was Naomi and Carmella versus Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose, Tamina Snuka and Nia Jax, Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan, Sasha Banks and Bayley, and the Iconics. Naomi and Carmella, obviously, they had terrible weeks. I will not discuss anything about Carmella here. But as you guys know, there is a situation going on with Carmella and Corey Graves where it was reportedly leaked by Graves' wife that he cheated on her and abandoned his family and 3 kids by having an affair with Carmella. We don't know what's true and what's not. All I know is that it's in the news, and that's all I'm going to say on that. I don't really care about any of this TMZ-like bullshit. So, one thing I do want to point out here is I really appreciate attention to detail. And WWE really made it a priority here to have all of these women in the Elimination Chamber match have matching outfits. And I really do appreciate that. Now, with Naomi and Carmella, Carmella matched Naomi in her color and her attire. Fabulous Glow is what they were calling them. They really made them feel like a tag team. Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. Sonya Deville was coming out wearing this MMA getup. She had this MMA shtick. Mandy Rose is hot. and she's sexy, and we all know that. And Sonya Deville matched Mandy Rose in attire tonight. She had long pants on. And I hope I see Sonya Deville wearing that from this point forward. Tamina and Nia Jax, they're two Samoans. So the similarity's right there. Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan. Sarah Logan abandoning that country shtick was the best thing that ever happened to her, man. That country shtick was fucking just nauseating. Didn't fit her. And she's looking more like her husband more and more every single week. And that War Raiders vibe is really suiting her well. And I really appreciate that. Sasha Banks and Bayley, they were wearing matching outfits. The yellow, white, and gold. And the Iconics had matching blue outfits. So they all looked the part. They all looked like legitimate teams. And I like that and I appreciate that because it shows that WWE actually cares instead of just making these random pairings and they don't have anything to do with one another. At least they made them all feel like a team tonight in the chamber. Now, I might be in the minority here. I honestly think that this match, the first half of this match, was fucking terrible. I legitimately had to stop myself mid-tweet. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to use my better judgment here, and I'm going to wait until this match is over to really give everyone an honest opinion. I was ready to tweet that this match was fucking terrible. Because the match started off with Sasha Banks and Bayley, and it started off with Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. That's fine. That's fine. Then we had the Riot Squad, and then the Iconics, and then we had Fabulous Glow, and then last, of course, the worst, we had the Samoan Slaughterhouse come in last. The first half of this match was just god-awful. And then the Iconics came in, and then they eliminated Fabulous Glow. They were there, they eliminated Fabulous Glow. Now, the only thing that I can honestly say about the Iconics, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, is that they're fucking terrible. The Iconics are fucking terrible. I find it baffling to me how people on social media find money in the Iconics. They are terrible. I do not remember ever seeing them at this point in NXT. In NXT, they were tolerable. In NXT, they actually were not bad in ring. It seems like they actually got worse being on the main roster. And what is with the fucking screeching and the yelping and the fucking banshee-like fucking screams of these women? I could not wait for them to get eliminated. Now, they eliminated Fabulous Glow. Naomi was eliminated here by Peyton Royce. There was a roll-up jackknife cover combo that was double-teamed by Billie Kay and Peyton Royce. It actually looked pretty fucking good. The way that they pinned Naomi looked very impressive. So I'm like, holy shit. They actually got a holy shit out of me. That was nice. Then the match really started to get a little bit better. Once Fabulous Glow was eliminated, we had the Iconics in the ring, and they were bragging about how they eliminated Fabulous Glow, right? So we had the Riot Squad, we had Fire and Desire, and we had Sasha Banks and Bayley, all laying about. They're dancing in the ring, they're posing in the ring. All these other women get up, and then the buzzer goes off, and out comes Nia Jax and Tamina Snuka. So the Iconics are trying to point to Nia Jax and Tamina Snuka. They want everybody else to take them out because they're the most dominating threat in the match. While the Iconics go hide in a pod. So Nia Jax and Tamina, they break through everybody. They're fucking destroying everybody. They set their eyes on the Iconics who are hiding in a pod. They lock the door behind them. You guys ever watch Jurassic Park 2 where the trailer scene happens and the Tyrannosaurus Rexes, the mother and the father, push that trailer off the fucking edge of the cliff because they know that their baby has been kidnapped? This is exactly what I thought of Nia Jax and Tamina Snuka in the match here, just stalking the Iconics. The Iconics are in the pod. They've tried to escape and they're trying to hide. They're trying to get to safety. You got Nia Jax banging on the pod. You got Tamina Snuka trying to rip the door open. Peyton Royce is trying to, just maneuver the door and use all her strength to stop Nia Jax from getting in. And both Tamina and Nia drag Peyton and Billy out of the pod and they start slamming them into the steel, man. A fucking smile on my face got bigger and bigger and bigger because I knew this was the end. of the Iconics. Eventually, it led to a double Samoan drop, and that was it. Double Samoan drop by Tamina Snuka and Nia Jax, and that is over. That's it. They were gone. Their gargoyle-like screams are no more. So that was that. So after they were eliminated, we had Deville and Mandy Rose. They tried double-teaming Tamina Snuka and Nia Jax. Jax kicks out of a pin attempt by Deville. Banks and Bayley double-team Deville and Rose in the ring. Bayley with a big knee to Snuka in the corner. Banks follows up with knees of her own to Snuka. Banks and Bayley drop Liv. And then Logan as she charges in. Banks and Bayley with a 2 count on Sarah Logan. More back and forth. Banks with a close 2 count on Deville. Jax and Snuka take down Banks and Bayley again. Logan and Liv Morgan retreat at this point to the top of one of the pods. We've seen this a lot tonight, which I don't mind because I like that aspect of it. I love using all of the structure and having all of the structure come into play. Liv Morgan leaps from the top of the pod, taking down Jax and Rose down below. Logan drags Deville over to the ring, but Deville kicks out at 2. Jax grabs Liv from the second rope and hits a big Samoan drop from the ropes. Snuka comes flying off the top with a Superfly Splash to Sarah Logan, and the Riot Squad is eliminated. So now we're down to 3 teams. We had Fabulous Glow eliminated, the Iconics eliminated, and now we have the Riot Squad eliminated. So Jax and Snuka are in control at this point. Jax tosses Bayley out to the steel. A lot of people complained about the steel not being exposed, how lame it looks, how WWE did the bad thing or the wrong thing about covering the steel. Fucking idiots people are. Like you want to see someone like Sasha Banks and Bayley being slammed on solid steel without mats or covers, right? This gives the match a whole new take, and it gives the performer more of an opportunity to do more, where in the old structure, they couldn't. I don't mind the changes to the new Elimination Chamber. Jax ends up charging at Bayley, but Bayley moves out, and Nia Jax crashes into one of the pods, destroying one of the plexiglass. She lays in it, laid out, debris all over the place. Snuka looks on. She can't believe it. Deville, Rose, Banks, and Bayley team up on Tamina Snuka. Now Banks with a top rope Meteora. Bayley with a top rope elbow on Snuka. Everyone covers her, and the Samoan Slaughterhouse team is eliminated. I was surprised by this. I was actually surprised by this. So now we're down to the teams that originally started this match. This was a great ending to what I thought was going to end up being a terrible match. Banks sends Deville into the steel. Rose comes down, sends Banks into a pod. Rose brings Banks back into the ring to slam her face first in the middle of the ring, hits her finisher. I thought it was over. I honestly thought that they were going to give Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville the tag team titles here tonight, and they didn't do it. Rose can't believe it. Rose with another close 2 count. Deville accidentally hits a spear on Mandy Rose. Banks ends up applying the bank statement to Sonya Deville. Sonya Deville resists, and Banks has trouble with the shoulder. Banks repositions, and Sonya Deville taps out for the finish. I love the fact that they played up Sasha Banks' shoulder, and they made it a big deal leading into the chamber, and it made it seem like Bayley was going to be in this match all by herself, or do most of the work. Yet Sasha Banks, even with the injured shoulder, came into play, and she ended up winning the match for her team when she could have been completely out of the match altogether leading up to this show. I thought it was great. Sasha Banks and Bayley win the women's tag team championships. After the match, I would be lying to you. I would be lying to you if I did not get somewhat emotional when Sasha Banks was speaking, or at least tried to speak, when Charlie Caruso asked her about winning the tag team championships. And the reason I did was because when I look at Sasha Banks, you might not like her. You know, the fangirls and the fanboys might come here and they might think I'm a fucking idiot. But when I look at someone like Sasha Banks, I see someone who is genuine and loves what she does. And the fact that both of them could not really find the words to say in that moment. That's all you really need to know about how much they care about what they do. Like, Sasha Banks was on the verge of tears because this was important to her. You don't think being the new women's tag team champions, being crowned in this era, the first women in this era to have women's tag team champions would be called the first ever? You don't think that's important to her? I think that was fucking great. And everybody felt their emotion. And it was real. And it made for just an even better moment. There's no better team to go into WrestleMania than Sasha Banks and Bayley with the tag team championships. I don't care. I don't care. And you know what? This may anger some people, and I don't really give a shit. Every team, Mandy Rose and Sony Deville are probably the only team in that match that I would give a rematch to or a shot at the titles to against Sasha Banks and Bayley. Mandy Rose and Sony Deville were great in this match. And that Mandy Rose, I was not a Mandy Rose fan when she hit the main roster. I thought she was an Eva Marie 2.0. I didn't see nothing in her but a fucking blonde with big tits. I'm telling you, God honest truth. But, man, as she proved to be getting better and better and better. And that's what I like to see. That's what I like to see. And if Mandy Rose and Sony Deville want to challenge Sasha Banks and Bayley, I would not mind that at all at WrestleMania. I just don't think that's what they're going to do at WrestleMania. I honestly think, now, Fastlane, they could do it. I honestly think Banks and Bayley would probably get the Bella Twins, Nikki and Brie Bella, or Trish and Lita at WrestleMania. So we'll see what happens with the tag team championships. But the basis of the story here is there's no better team than Sasha Banks and Bayley to be called women's tag team champions, and there's no better team to go into WrestleMania as tag team champions. Simple. I don't want to hear it from anybody else. Smackdown Live tag team title match, man. The Usos, Shane McMahon and The Miz. I didn't agree with this going into the Elimination Chamber. I didn't agree with this whatsoever. And the end result here, I was hoping for, was the Usos winning the tag team championships. Now, there was a few things that we had to take into consideration here. Number one, The Miz and Shane McMahon just won these titles, and we are about 50 days out of WrestleMania. The WWE taking the titles off The Miz and Shane McMahon might be deemed by some as too soon, because we have Fastlane coming up. Now, the other thing is, the Usos, Jimmy and Naomi, got arrested, and they got in trouble with the law. Jimmy tried to fight a Detroit police officer, and rewarding them with the tag team championships might be a little out there. Why are you going to reward someone for what ultimately is bad behavior? But I didn't really take that into consideration because there's something that's clouding all of that called the AEW effect. And if you don't think the AEW effect is real, you're a goddamn fucking idiot. You're a fool. The AEW effect is at least accountable for 50% of the decision tonight. Now, the other decision is, yes, or the other part of the decision is 25% of it is, yes, Shane and Miz have a program building towards WrestleMania. The other 25% is the Usos are the best tag team in the WWE. They're one of the best tag teams of all time. And there's no better team, especially on SmackDown Live, that you're going to go with into WrestleMania as your tag team champions. So there you go. AEW effect accounts for 50%. Shane and Miz have their program building, and then the Usos are the best tag team and the right team to go into WrestleMania with as tag team champions. So there's your math for the evening. The match itself wasn't that bad. I don't know how many fucking coast-to-coasts and diving elbow drops through the announce table I could fucking take. Every time Shane McMahon's in a match, it's the same shit. You know, I used to mark out for this shit. I don't mark out for it anymore. And if you're happy with seeing the same shit over and over and over again, I don't know what to tell you. WWE can't brag about building up a new tag team division or changing the tag team division, changing the status of how tag team wrestling is presented in WWE, and then show me Shane and The Miz as your tag team champions. So the decision to take the titles off of them tonight was not only the right decision, it was imperative. The match itself wasn't even that bad. The match itself wasn't even that bad. It was not something that I was interested in for the most part, but it wasn't that bad. Now, it all came down to Shane McMahon doing what Shane McMahon does best, fucking injuring himself. He tried to do 2 coasts to coast. He tried to do one on Jimmy, which he nailed. And then he tried to do one to Jay, back to back. Except the one that he tried to do with Jay, he got caught in midair with a fucking super kick. So, all of this eventually leads to The Miz on the outside. Fans are chanting for tables. Miz places Jay on top of the announce table. Miz motions to Shane as Shane recovers in the ring after the fucking super kick. Sweat dripping off his fucking brow. Shane goes to the top turnbuckle. Miz holds Jay on the announce table. Shane leaps out and puts Jay through the announce table with a big elbow drop off the top rope to the outside. Tables in fucking shambles. Debris everywhere. Miz and a referee check on Shane and Jey Uso as they're both laid out in the debris of the table. Miz brings Jimmy back in the ring. They go at it for a little bit. Jimmy blocks a skull-crushing finale and nails a super kick. Jimmy goes to the top for a big splash. But Miz ends up getting the knees up. Miz tries to roll that into a pinfall, only a 2 count. Miz follows up with a skull-crushing finale. He hits it. I think it's over, because the way he nailed it was beautiful. But Jimmy, I don't know if he was playing like extra possum here, but it looked like he was dead weight. The Miz tried to roll him over, couldn't roll him over. It looked like he was playing possum. In the end, that's exactly what it was. He was playing possum. The Miz tried to roll him over after the skull-crushing finale, but Jey Uso was playing possum. Jimmy Uso, rather, was playing possum, and he rolled the skull-crushing finale pin into a crucifix, and Jimmy Uso wins the Tag Team Championships for he and his brother Jay, new Tag Team Champions on SmackDown Live. Absolutely the right decision, no question. And again, I have to explain this to everybody because everybody's just a fucking blithering idiot. They don't want to lose anybody. There you go. How are you going to lose anybody if you give them the fucking tag team titles? That's a nice way of saying, hey, we don't want to lose you. We want to keep you. Let's talk about a contract extension. AEW effect is running wild, folks. If you don't believe me, you better start getting on board. Handicap match for the Intercontinental Championship. Finn Balor versus Lio Rush and Bobby Lashley. This match was terrible. Absolutely fucking terrible. First of all, I have to mention this because I feel like it's my duty to mention these things because no one else is going to. Can I just get this out there? Finn Balor just competed for the Universal Championship. Okay? He lost. He did nothing in the build-up to the Elimination Chamber to really earn an Intercontinental Championship. Now, is it me? Or is this a common theme in WWE? They did it with Nakamura, too. They did it with Nakamura. He challenged for the WWE Championship, and he didn't win the WWE Championship after failed attempt, after failed attempt, after failed attempt. And then all of a sudden he's getting a United States Championship match, and he did literally nothing for it. Balor now is doing the same thing with the Intercontinental Championship. He fought Brock Lesnar, failed at capturing the Universal Championship, so WWE just says, you know what? We're going to throw him into an Intercontinental Championship feud because he didn't win the Universal Championship. So we're just giving out title shots now for no reason. You failed at the big title, so we'll give you the secondary title. And like I said, they did the same thing with Nakamura. Now, the other thing I have with this match, the other problem I have with this match is, by the way, Finn Balor won. He is your new Intercontinental Champion. Okay? The other issue I have with this is, if you were going to have Finn Balor win the Intercontinental Championship, why didn't he pin Bobby Lashley? The only reason why Lio Rush was in this match was to take the pinfall and have WWE get this easy way out by having Balor win the title without having to pin Bobby Lashley. Do you know how ridiculous that looks? Now, I don't know why Finn Balor couldn't be seen on television. We couldn't see the visual of Balor pinning Bobby Lashley. Who the fuck is Bobby Lashley? Unless you have some fucking huge plans for Bobby Lashley later this year. I don't know why he can't pin Bobby Lashley. It's fucking stupid. The fact that the IC title changed hands and Balor didn't even pin the champion. Finn Balor wins the Intercontinental Championship. I don't know where they go with the title into WrestleMania. Bobby Lashley at the end of the match was contemplating just burying Lio Rush. He wanted to fucking hit him. Then he picked him up and tried to take him out of the ring and then decided to give him a spine buster for his efforts. So I don't know if this ends the relationship with Lio Rush. Looks like it did. That ain't good for Bobby Lashley. Because God knows what this guy's going to say if he's got a microphone in his hand. At least with Lio Rush, he did the talking for Lashley. I don't know where they go from here. I pitched the idea of Family Man Kevin Owens coming back and challenging for the Intercontinental Championship. Show up on Monday Night Raw. Either him or Sami Zayn. IC title match at WrestleMania. I'll take either one of them. But Balor winning the Intercontinental Championship was absolutely the right move. The right move. Finally, Balor has gold on the main roster. I just don't like the way that WWE got Balor to this situation. It would have been so much better of a visual if he got the coup de grace on Bobby Lashley instead of Lio Rush. And it just goes back to what I originally think. They don't really care about Finn Balor or care enough about Finn Balor to give him a big victory over a guy like Bobby Lashley. I don't get it. It's just so silly to me. Finn Balor's your new Intercontinental Champion. This next match is absolutely a downright embarrassment. First of all, Charlotte Flair comes out to the ring. Okay? Now, we get a video recap that happened apparently at some house show where Becky Lynch jumped the barricade at this house show and interfered in a match with Charlotte Flair and Asuka. Yes, Asuka is still alive, believe it or not. She interfered in this match with Charlotte Flair and Asuka, and Charlotte re-injured Becky Lynch's knee. So, they show us this, and then Charlotte Flair is in the ring with Charlie Caruso. Charlie asked Charlotte when she found out about the WrestleMania main event change. Flair says life is good when you're Charlotte Flair because she's going to WrestleMania, and last night she got to do what she loves, humiliate and desecrate the man. Flair goes on about how Becky panders to the crowd because she needs the fans and their approval. Flair heels it up and starts, just shitting on the fans. Fans start booing. Flair says she knows she's the very best on Raw, on Smackdown, in all of WWE. Fans start chanting for Becky. Flair says she's going to sit at ringside and she's going to watch who will main event WrestleMania against the Queen. And can I just throw it out there? Charlotte does a terrible impersonation of Ric Flair. I would rather her not woo at all. Now, it was supposed to be Ruby Riott versus Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey comes out dressed as Sonya Blade from Mortal Kombat. I loved it. I thought Ronda looked great. In fact, I wish Ronda would wear that from now on instead of the fucking throwback to Roddy Piper. Ruby Riott didn't even last 2 minutes in this match. I put my head down to tweet, and the match was over. I had people texting me. I went to go take a shit. The match was over. I went to go put something in the microwave. The match was over. I had a phone call. I come back. The match is over. You could have literally done anything, and the match was over. The match was over. Ruby Riott looked like a complete fucking imbecile in this match. The bell rings. Riott takes Ronda down with some strikes. Okay. So they tangle and Rousey launches Riott into the mat. Ruby goes to the floor, separates herself from Ronda, takes a breather. Rousey's talking trash from the ring. Get back in the ring. Come on, let's do this. Flair looks on from her chair at the announce table. Riott takes her time getting back into the ring. Referee's starting his 10 count. Riott comes in and fights out of the corner. She goes in between the ropes. She asks the referee to break the hold, back Ronda up. And Ronda then, all of a sudden, hits Piper's Pit, grabs Riot's arm, points up to the WrestleMania sign, and then locks in the armbar, and Ruby Riott taps out before I could even blink. Over. The match lasted 2 minutes. Now, I want to paint this visual for you people, okay? And I don't want to make you nauseous whenever you're listening to this. I don't want to make you angry with rage. Ruby Riott was buried. But when Eva Marie gets more offense against Asuka compared to Ruby Riott and Ronda Rousey, just visualize that. Eva Marie got more offense on Asuka than Ruby Riott got on Ronda Rousey. Alicia Fox got more offense on Ronda Rousey than Ruby Riott got on Ronda Rousey. Do you see where they fucked the situation up? Did this match need to happen if this was going to be the end result? Who came up with this conclusion? That we're just going to throw Ruby Riott out there and have her be fucking feed for the caged animal known as Ronda Rousey on the road to WrestleMania. Did this match need to happen? You were better off not even having the match at all. If all this was going to do was get Rousey in a segment with Becky and Charlotte at the end of this match, why the fuck did Ruby need to be there to take a tap-out submission win, a loss rather, in 2 minutes? I don't get it. I don't understand the creative decision behind this. Everybody else got a shot with Ronda. Ruby was buried, and I don't know why. This is what you think of when you think of Ruby Riott? Bayley got in with Ronda. Alicia got in with Ronda. Tamina got in with Ronda. She's terrible. But Ruby Riott got no offense on Ronda Rousey. Ruby Riott, one of the best female wrestlers on the roster, got no offense on Ronda Rousey. Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Eva Marie got more offense in on Asuka than Ruby Riott got in on Ronda Rousey. Fucking terrible. Absolutely fucking terrible. After the match, Rousey stands in the ring. Flair struts around ringside, enters the ring. She starts laughing and stares down Rousey in the middle of the ring. Becky Lynch, all of a sudden, comes out of nowhere. She's coming from the crowd, walks through the fucking crowd, walks right by a security guard standing there with his arms crossed. She comes down to the ring, jumps the barricade, is on one leg with crutches. Correct me if I'm wrong, people. Isn't Becky Lynch fucking suspended? What is she doing in the fucking building, let alone jumping the goddamn barricade? Can someone please answer me this question? What the fuck is Becky Lynch doing in the arena if she is suspended? She shouldn't even be in Houston, Texas. Then I got people on social media telling me, what are you complaining about? When do you want Becky Lynch to come back? I mentioned I want Becky Lynch to show up at Ric Flair's birthday party in 2 weeks on Monday Night Raw. So then people are telling me you want Becky Lynch to do the same thing on Raw 2 weeks from now that she did tonight at the Elimination Chamber. Yeah, that really makes sense. Then I got the fucking idiots combating me on social media. Well, Stone Cold did the same thing back in the Attitude Era. Or here's a better one. You never watched the Attitude Era, did you? Coming from someone who I'm sure never was even around during the Attitude Era. People, I called Becky Lynch Stone Cold Becky Lynch back when all this started, okay? I used that as a comparison as to Becky Lynch standing there with a bloody fucking face when she had her nose broken by Nia Jax, okay? I didn't intend WWE to book Becky Lynch like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Motherfucker, this isn't the Attitude Era, and Becky Lynch is not Stone Cold Steve Austin. So cut the fucking comparisons out and cut your bullshit. Becky Lynch needs to be booked like Becky Lynch right now. Okay? When you go to a fucking steakhouse and the chef prepares you a fucking $90 fucking filet mignon, okay? Yeah, and you're sitting there and you're paying over $100 for a fucking piece of meat. You don't go and ask for pepper, garlic, onion, and salt and fucking season the fucking shit right there when the chef specifically prepared that for you. Okay? WWE had all of this planned out for them. Becky Lynch is the fucking chef in this situation. WWE has its steak prepared for WrestleMania. Becky Lynch just made everything in your life that much easier. And here WWE is taking the garlic and the salt and the onion and the pepper and this and that and fucking seasoning it to their delight when Becky Lynch already gave you a perfect fucking steak for WrestleMania. Now you're adding all this other shit. Knee injury and suspensions, and now she's jumping the barricade. Can I ask where the fuck the referees or the management or the officials were? Who let her in the building? Seriously. Now you're probably thinking, well, JD, it's not that big of a deal. It is a big deal because it's a huge logic gap. The woman was fucking suspended by Vince McMahon. Why is she in a WWE ring? I don't get it. She walked right by a fucking security guard with his arms crossed. Now they fucked up everything. It's bad enough that the woman had to fucking swallow her pride and say, I'm sorry, and get out of this suspension, number one, only to be suspended again and out of the WrestleMania main event. Now she shows up at the Elimination Chamber when nobody expected her to show up at the Elimination Chamber. This pay-per-view did not need Becky Lynch on it. Now, what WWE is going to do is they'll probably bring her back for Raw, and they'll probably bring her back for Ric Flair's birthday party, and everything that you've seen tonight, they're going to do again, and when they do it again, it's not going to have as much meaning the second time around. Becky Lynch should have been off TV after Vince McMahon suspended her until the day she invades and gets what she wants. Now you're going to do it again, and it's not going to mean jack shit because she already did it at the Elimination Chamber. She laid everybody out with fucking crutch shots, and that was it. And by the way, the crutch shots, I swear to God, I hope Ronda Rousey does not have a fucking concussion. Because Becky Lynch was swinging like fucking Bryce Harper. I hope this angered many other people in the community just like it did. It made no sense. 0 sense. And I'm being criticized for, oh, you find everything to complain about. Well, I don't like my intelligence insulted, you fucking asshole. Ronda Rousey wins. Ruby Riott buried. Becky Lynch shows up when she don't need to be there. WWE just fucking adding and adding and adding when they don't need to add anything. What the fuck do I know? What do I know? No DQ match. Baron Corbin versus Braun Strowman. Another match that nobody gave a shit about. Braun Strowman, the walking gimmick himself. Braun Strowman, get these hands. I don't know who's worse, Baron Corbin or Braun Strowman at this point. Ladies and gentlemen, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't WWE remove Braun Strowman? This is according to sources. I got my own fucking methods on why Finn Balor was added to the Brock Lesnar match at the Royal Rumble, but correct me if I'm wrong. The sources, the real story behind it, according to some, or what Vince McMahon would want you to know, is that the reason he pulled Braun Strowman from the Brock Lesnar match at the Royal Rumble was because he didn't want him to take another loss. But here we are at the Elimination Chamber, and he's booked to lose against Baron Corbin. So, what made his removal from the Royal Rumble such a big deal when all you were going to do was have him lose to Baron Corbin at the Elimination Chamber? I don't understand it. I really don't get it. So he lost to Baron Corbin. So they get into a situation where Strowman manages to set up a table against the against the turnbuckle, and he power slams Corbin through the table. He was about to win the match. So Drew McIntyre's music suddenly hits, and he walks down with a steel chair. Walks down the aisle with a steel chair. Strowman readies in the ring, and he's about to fight Drew McIntyre because he laid Baron Corbin out. Bobby Lashley comes in from behind and takes out Braun Strowman with a steel chair. Chair shots galore on Braun Strowman. McIntyre's got a chair. Bobby Lashley's got a chair. And meanwhile, I thought Bobby Lashley was actually turning somewhat babyface again against Lio Rush, and here he is right back in this situation. Heel. So he abandoned Lio Rush to somewhat of a babyface reaction, and now he's back teaming with McIntyre and Corbin to take out Braun Strowman. I don't know. Corbin recovers. He gets back up. Strowman gets up and drops Lashley, turns to Drew, takes Drew out. Lashley manages to come back and level Strowman with a big spear. Drew McIntyre and Lashley bring parts of the steel steps into the ring, and Corbin gets up. He's on his feet, directing traffic now in the ring. Drew grabs Braun's face and talks trash to Braun Strowman. Braun fights back and also grabs Lashley, but Corbin makes the save from behind with, what else? A steel chair. Corbin and Drew McIntyre slide tables into the ring, and they're playing house. So they set up two tables on top of one another, Dudley Boy style. Strowman gets up to his feet. Drew puts him right back down with a Claymore kick. The heels stack one table on top of the other, like I said, right in the middle of the ring. Lashley sets up the steel steps. He gets up top on the steel steps, and a triple power bomb Shield style on Braun Strowman off the steel steps through the two tables. And at this point, I didn't even realize the fucking match was still going on, and I'm sure you thought the same thing too, because it was a no DQ match, right? It was a no DQ match. I didn't even give a shit about the stipulation. I didn't give a fuck about the match. I honestly thought watching this, the little I paid attention to it, I thought this was a post-match attack, and then all of a sudden I see Baron Corbin pinning Braun Strowman, and he wins the match. So again, I gotta ask, his removal from the Royal Rumble was because Vince McMahon didn't want to beat him at the Royal Rumble. He didn't want Lesnar to beat Braun Strowman again, but it's okay for him to be removed there, only to be put in this situation to lose to Baron Corbin 3-on-1 and be buried in table debris. Where does Braun Strowman go into WrestleMania? I hope nowhere. Braun Strowman is an absolute fucking waste of roster space. I said this on social media. He is a waste of roster space. The guy absolutely has zero going for him right now. He's a walking fucking gimmick. The guy is absolutely useless to Monday Night Raw. And honestly, when Braun Strowman is on TV, he makes the show that much worse. I'm over Braun Strowman in more ways than one. In fact, I may actually end up putting him on a new Get Off My TV t-shirt. That's how much I'm fucking just gone and over Braun Strowman. Main event. Oh, by the way, before the main event, I don't know what the fuck was going on with WWE and their production team. Lacey Evans comes out to the stage. Her theme music hits. She looks good. She's walking down the aisle. She walks halfway down the aisle and then says, fuck it. Pulls a Randy Orton and says, nah, I'm going to go back. Goodbye. And then they go right to a commercial. And that was it. I don't know. You asked me on social media what the fuck is up with Lacey. I don't know. Your answer, your guess is as good as mine. I don't fucking know. This is WWE for you. This is how they handle NXT talent. There you go. Elimination Chamber. Kofi Kingston, Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and Daniel Bryan in the main event for the WWE title. Daniel Bryan and Samoa Joe started it off. Daniel Bryan running around, trying to avoid Samoa Joe. He tried to waste the clock until another pod opened, but Joe was not going to let that happen. And I love that interaction between Joe and Bryan. I'd love to see a feud between the two. And I love how Daniel Bryan used heel-like tactics to avoid the much larger Samoa Joe and tried to, I guess, maintain longevity in this match, because he knew if he went up one-on-one with Samoa Joe that his time could be cut short significantly. So obviously after this, it was Joe and Bryan. Number 3, in comes Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston's in the match now. Him and Bryan go at it. He's going at it with Samoa Joe. He tried to get the same pin on Samoa Joe that he got on Tuesday here in this match. The Bret Hart, Roddy Piper situation from WrestleMania 8. So we get all that happening, and then AJ Styles comes into the match. So AJ comes in at number 4. So we got all 4 of these guys in the ring right now, and AJ's going after Bryan. They got a nice little history with one another. AJ clotheslines Joe to the mat. Bryan takes AJ to the corner, but AJ fights back, unloading on Bryan. Bryan runs into an elbow. AJ then with the moonsault from the top, grabbing Bryan and Kofi into a pair of inverted DDTs. One was a regular DDT and the other one was a reverse DDT. It was a nice spot by AJ Styles. Weird, I've never seen that before. But fans are chanting for Styles. AJ with a big forearm to Joe. Bryan climbs the steel, but AJ springboards up. Bryan's climbing the cage, and AJ springboards off the top rope into a phenomenal forearm, knocking Bryan off the side of the cage. Really nice spot there. And we get Joe ultimately getting eliminated by Kofi. Now, he tried to apply the coquina clutch here. Joe applies the coquina clutch. Ends up being broken up. AJ leaps in with a phenomenal forearm to Joe. AJ covers for the pin, and Joe has been eliminated. Now, I thought Kofi eliminated Joe. It was AJ that eliminated Joe. AJ covers Joe for the pin. I don't know why Samoa Joe was the first one eliminated here. Out of all the people in this match, I don't understand how Joe was the most expendable one in this match. Like, I don't get it. I really don't understand it. Like Joe has been on top of his game in every which way. Jeff Hardy, if you ask me, didn't even belong in this match. Like, I don't know why Hardy couldn't come in at Joe's number and Hardy get eliminated. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. What it is with Joe. Oh God, I'm so fucking pissed off. I'm so angry that Joe, every single fucking time he's in a big match situation, the guy's just fed to everybody. And he's got nothing going on for him going into WrestleMania. Nothing. Joe gets eliminated by fucking AJ Styles. Phenomenal forearm. Out comes Jeff Hardy. He comes in next. Bryan and AJ go at it. They're going at it. Hardy comes in, unloads for several minutes. AJ's placed on the top turnbuckle face down. Hardy goes to the top of the pod, hits a big swanton on AJ. AJ was laid out on the top turnbuckle, back first. Jeff Hardy jumps off the cage into a swanton, or off the pod rather, into a swanton onto AJ, man. That was a really nice spot. Bryan, now, like I said, was going after AJ. More back and forth for a few minutes between those guys. Randy Orton comes in and, like a fucking predator, is just stalking everybody. Everybody's just completely out of it. Randy Orton's the last man in. He goes to work on AJ while AJ is upside down in the corner. Kofi charges, but Orton drops him. Orton goes back to work on AJ in the corner. Bryan ends up blocking an RKO and backsliding Orton for a close 2 count. Orton drops Bryan next. Kofi charges at Orton with a big drop kick. Fans were big into Kofi here. More back and forth all over the chamber. This leads to Orton hitting an RKO on AJ and pins AJ for the win. So he eliminates AJ Styles. AJ Styles has been eliminated. Kofi and Orton go back at it. Orton avoids Trouble in Paradise. Orton crotches Kofi on the top. Orton takes out Bryan as he comes in from behind. This leads to Kofi dropping Orton with a Trouble in Paradise after blocking the RKO and covers him for the pin. Orton was eliminated by Kofi. So we're now down to Kofi and Daniel Bryan in the Elimination Chamber. Now, leading into all this, I mentioned this on my preview and predictions. I was totally okay with Kofi Kingston winning the WWE Championship. I was totally okay with it. But WWE, in typical WWE fashion, they tend to don't do the right thing. in the moment. Meaning they don't strike while the iron is hot. This was a Santino Marella, Daniel Bryan 2011 Elimination Chamber situation. Everybody loves the David and Goliath story. Everybody equally loves the come from behind, grizzled veteran, someone out of the blue who they are completely invested in, getting an opportunity that normally he would not be put in. This was that situation with Kofi Kingston. I would have been okay if Kofi Kingston walked out of the Elimination Chamber with the WWE Championship, but WWE did not do that on Sunday night. They let this moment pass, and they will never be able to recreate what the fans gave them tonight in Houston at the Elimination Chamber. It's over. The Kofi Kingston Uber ride is over. Take your phone out, leave your fucking 5-star rating, and leave him a tip. That's it. It's over. Kofi Kingston is not going to challenge for the WWE Championship. Kofi Kingston is not going to win the WWE Championship. Kofi Kingston is not going to battle Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. It's over. They did not strike while the iron is hot. This was a moment that Kofi lucked into. It wasn't even his position. This was Mustafa Ali's position. First and foremost, this was Mustafa Ali's position. So Kofi Kingston is lucky he had the opportunity to do 60 minutes on Tuesday. He was lucky to be in this match. Now, a disclaimer, I'm not taking anything away from Kofi Kingston. I'm not sitting here telling you that I don't enjoy Kofi Kingston's work. I enjoy the New Day very much. I honestly say, each and every time they put on a great match, whether it's a tag team match, whether they're serious, and they stop with the fucking shenanigans, or if it's a situation like this with either Xavier, Big E, or in this case, Kofi Kingston. They are great at what they do. Xavier Woods is underrated. Big E is underrated. Kofi Kingston is overrated. But this was not a position that was originally his. Everything that he was booked like, or booked for, was Mustafa Ali's. So, where are you people about, oh, Mustafa Ali? You know, I feel bad for Mustafa Ali. Would you people be saying the same thing if Mustafa Ali was in this situation, you know, coming this close to winning the WWE Championship? Or is it your favoritism for Kofi Kingston? Which one is it? You know, the WWE not striking while the iron is hot. They did this with Nakamura. They did this with Braun Strowman. They did this with Samoa Joe. Braun Strowman more so than anybody in the last 18 to 24 months. Braun Strowman should have been Universal Champion 2 or 3 times over already. They didn't strike against Brock Lesnar. They didn't strike against Roman Reigns. They didn't strike against Brock Lesnar again. And you can even go back to the Elimination Chamber 2018, where Braun Strowman was there and eliminated everyone in the Elimination Chamber, only to be defeated by Roman Reigns. If you don't strike while the iron is hot, if you want to try and recreate this moment, it's never going to be the same thing. They made history in the opening match. WWE could have made history and sent Houston home happy and fixed the issue at Fastlane. They didn't do it. Now it's over. Kofi Kingston is never going to get another opportunity at Daniel Bryan and the WWE Championship. And I don't want to hear it again anymore. The ship has sailed. Daniel Bryan is going to have a new opponent at WrestleMania. His name will not be Kofi Kingston. Now, like I said, if WWE wanted to make history and give Kofi Kingston the title, I would have been okay with it, and I would have said so right here. I would have been happy for him. And if WWE wanted to change that, they had Fastlane to do it and put the title back on Bryan. They didn't do it. This was a great back and forth to a point where I would like to see it. But the fact that WWE gave us the ending that they did tonight, I don't want to see it anymore. It is over. Kofi Kingston was with major support from the Houston crowd. Kofi stomps away Bryan stands over Kofi and stomps away, holding his arms and stomping his face. Bryan goes for a cover, only a 2 count. Bryan charges, but Kofi levels him out of nowhere with another close 2 count. Bryan drops Kofi into the bell lock. Bryan transitions Kofi to try and break free. Fans are going crazy for Kofi at this point as he reaches the bottom rope. Bryan let go of the hold due to exhaustion. Bryan laid out on top of Kofi. Fans are chanting, "This is awesome." Bryan goes to the top rope, but Kofi crotches him. Fans are still chanting for Kofi at this point. Kofi climbs up to the top with Bryan. Bryan escapes to the top of the pod. It looked like Bryan or Kofi or we're going back and forth. It looks like both of them wanted to do a superplex off the top of the pod. Kofi joins him on the pod, up there, working him over. Kofi smashes Bryan and his back into the glass of the pod. Kofi stands up with Bryan on top of the pod now. Kofi then looks to the superplex, like I mentioned, from the top to the ring, but Bryan fights back. Bryan smashes Kofi's head into the pod and the glass. Both superstars are still on the pod at this point. Bryan tries for a superplex, but Kofi resists. Kofi beats Bryan down on top of the pod. Kofi kicks Bryan to the top turnbuckle and then down to the mat with a boot to the face. Kofi stands on top. He's going for it all. He goes for a big splash. And nobody is there. Bryan rolls out of the way. Kofi gets up and Bryan charges with a running knee right to the face. Bryan covers and retains the WWE Championship. After the match, both Xavier Woods and Big E come out. They sit on the Elimination Chamber stairs and they tell Kofi that he deserved it. This was his night. This was his moment. Thank you, Kofi chants ring out as Kofi Kingston stares off into the crowd as if he was saying goodbye to Houston, man. He just looked completely distraught, and the Elimination Chamber goes off the air. This was it. This was their moment to create history, and they didn't do it. So Kofi Kingston is not getting the WWE title. Kofi Kingston is not going to WrestleMania to challenge Daniel Bryan for the WWE title. It's going to be somebody else. They had their moment to do it. And you guys have to remember, this was not Kofi's spot anyway, originally. This was Mustafa Ali's spot. I would have been... Now, I knew that WWE was not going to, in their right mind, take the title off of Daniel Bryan. I would have been a little bit more in the believable mode if Mustafa Ali was in there. Just honestly, that has nothing to do or not a knock on Kofi Kingston. I would have been a little bit more in the believable mode if Mustafa Ali was there. But the fact that Kofi Kingston was in this position, you know, WWE had this 1 week run of Kofi and they needed to capitalize on it. The fact that they didn't capitalize on it, it's over. You're not going to recreate that moment again. And Daniel Bryan is the right guy to walk into WrestleMania anyway as the WWE Champion. That is your Elimination Chamber review, guys. Thank you so very much for everything. Overall, there was a lot of bad with this show, a lot of creative blunder with this show. But the positives to this show, the champions that were crowned or retained, Bryan, Usos, Balor, Bayley, and Sasha Banks. And the fact that the show was only 3.5 hours. Thank God. Now we got Monday Night Raw tomorrow. And the fact that WWE made a lot of creative blunders in the form of Becky Lynch, Braun Strowman, Ruby Riot. We'll see what happens going into WrestleMania, man. Not really a good showing by WWE, but this was to be expected because the build to the Elimination Chamber did absolutely nothing for anybody. To a point where people didn't even realize there was a pay-per-view tonight. So if you guys enjoyed this, please hit that thumbs up, and I will see you all right back here for Monday Night Raw. Until then, guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow night for Monday Night Raw.